Welcome to the GPLama YouTube channel, where today I'll be digging into the details of the T500 Smart Trainer from Magene. The T500 utilises a virtual flywheel design, or more accurately a true direct drive design, using neodymium magnets. Think Tax Neo. Now, even if you're not keen on knowing about just another smart trainer, stick around. I'll dig into how to enable Zwift virtual shifting on trainers that don't officially support it. Pulling up the technical specifications and pulling out some key points. It comes with a Shimano 12-speed cassette pre-installed. Supported connections are ANT Plus and 3 times Bluetooth. Power accuracy plus or minus 1%. 20% grade simulation up to 2200 watts of resistance. Noise level, it's quiet, and power source can be powered by mains or self-powered in a standalone mode with obviously reduced features. Additional features of this trainer: it has a downhill simulation, a heart rate bridge, road surface simulation, but only on the Magene OneLap software, and it ships with a floor mat and a front wheel riser with some configurations. Pricing: this comes in at $699 US on the Magene website, which is quite interesting as it's not available in the US. And speaking of availability, if you're watching this in North America, Europe, or Australia, this trainer is not likely to be seen on shelves. Getting access to this one will require some creative purchasing. The T500 is positioned as a mid-range trainer, and as such, absent from the technical specifications are no Wi-Fi, no race mode, and no virtual shifting, which is something I'd really like to see. It will allow for more bike compatibility, including the Zwift Ride frame, and virtual shifting can be used as a workaround to one of the unavoidable problems with trainers that use this flywheel design. More on that shortly. Magene showcased the T600 Eco this year at Eurobike as their premium level smart trainer offering. That trainer does have Wi-Fi, Ethernet, and race mode. I hope to see one of these in the Llama Lab soon. Now, as the T500 comes pre-assembled, let's jump straight to the ride experience. I've done quite a few kilometers on the T500 on Zwift. The Bluetooth connectivity has been rock solid. Resistance changes in sim mode are quick. There's no lag between what you see on screen and what you feel on the pedals. And workouts using erg mode were stable. One thing of note was the resistance change in erg mode from low to higher zones reported a little slower than the actual resistance change. Still takes about 5 to 6 seconds to really get to that set point. This has been raised with Magene and is likely to be adjustable with future updates. To cover off the power accuracy with the T500, for power comparisons, I'll likely always be using the Assioma DUO or Assioma PRO power meter pedals. I have 965 comparative data sets from the last 7 years using Flywheel pedals. The Assiomas are one of the very few power meters that I do not encounter any issues with residual torque after peak power sprints requiring a manual zero, any power oscillations in steady state efforts, or any drifts due to PCO where I'm pressing on the pedals. For what I do, I need a baseline that is not going to move around on me throughout a ride. To date, these have proven to be a brilliant go-to baseline. Okay, jumping here to my favorite website on the internet, the DCR Analyzer tool, where we can compare multiple data sets as an overlay, see how things stack up, and things stack up pretty good. Now, without a drive belt or a weighted flywheel, power accuracy of this trainer should be pretty much spot on. And that's what the data indicates. We have the Assioma DUO for this first ride up against the Magene T500. Diving in there, 243, 241.9, all looking good, tracking beautifully, no drift. No major problems there. Peak power sprint, there's always going to be a slight offset for those, given how it records at 1 Hertz. Not quite cracking 1000 watts there for that one. All looking good. Short step test right here. Things are just offset a little bit as the trainer is just recording a little bit differently, but 193, 193. No problems or issues to report there. The reported cadence is also good for the way I pedal a bike. That's all looking fine there, and all the way through there. Average 83.85, 84.35. On to a quick Llama Lab test, this time with the Pro RS from Flywheel. Warm up, short hard effort. Let's have a look at those. 228, 227 from the Magene. All looking good there. Step tests from the 60 watts, 80 watts, 100 watts, 120 watts, giving me indication that this trainer is able to do those very low erg zones, and quite accurately at that. Jumping here to this data for the steady states, 222, 223, easy does it. Into the sprints, again looking good, peak power there. 3 watts difference in that data point there. The Flywheel is jumping a little bit ahead, a little bit quicker. In the erg mode, we saw that smoothing of the erg mode, changing from lower transitions, or transitioning from lower zones into a higher zone, so 150 to 350 really sort of curves off. On the trainer's power reporting, but on the pedals, bang, it's there, it's instant, 248, 249, that's all good. Flywheel speed test, this is typically where trainers do fall apart, where I set it to 225 erg, and I change the physical gearing from a very low physical gearing, medium, into high flywheel speed. And this type of trainer is pretty much the only trainer that will pass this test. If you have a weighted flywheel, or any other trainer that has a different configuration than this, this section here usually just completely blows out. Some trainers requiring up to 350 to 400 watts or so in this zone here. So that's all good there. Not that we'll be doing erg mode in the biggest physical gear that we have. And a slight step test here at the end. Again, things looking good. 257, 253. The Magene just a little bit under as it's using erg to really round off those transitions. But other than that, all's looking good for power. Alrighty, now it's time to go deep down the rabbit hole on the topic of flywheel slip. Now, flywheel slip on these trainers at low flywheel speeds is pretty much unavoidable. It isn't just a Magene thing either. The $2,000 US Neo 3M will also slip out in similar riding scenarios, as will the Cyplus T2 and T3 and any trainer utilizing this flywheel design. Slow flywheel speed at high torque makes for a very choppy resistance experience, similar to riding uphill on wet grass where you're slipping out on slick tires. All right, let's jump in game on Zwift to show you this occurring and 3 workarounds. Okay, here we are on the London Underground, ramps up to a 14% sim gradient. This is my sim grade stress test, riding this in easy physical gears as it ramps right there to 14%. As I attempt to accelerate, I can slip that resistance out. So attacking in a race is very square and very difficult. That's not ideal. That's virtual tire slip happening right there. So how do we get around this? Well, there are a few ways. The first way is to attack the climb, putting the trainer at a higher flywheel speed and into a better working zone for it to apply resistance. So let's go with workaround number 1. I'll ride harder into the climb. 14%, okay. Attacking, and I'm not able to slip that resistance out. You can see there in the power stats there. It's not spiking and dropping as I slip through. That's one workaround. Although that's not a great workaround for longer sustained sim gradient climbs, such as the Alp, Radio Tower, and the Grade. The second workaround, to get that flywheel spinning a little higher and to reduce or eradicate that flywheel slip, is to change the trainer difficulty level. Let's go do that right now. In the settings, hardware, we'll put that down to 50%, which means as I'm riding this climb here, obviously I'm in a bigger gear, flywheel is spinning a lot higher, and when I attack, there's no slip out. That attack can be sustained. Okay, much better. That's workaround number 2. Now, workaround number 3. Virtual shifting on a trainer that doesn't officially support virtual shifting. This is where things get interesting. Okay, with QZ loaded, the pairing can be a little tricky. So the way that I've found it to be more reliable is to select the virtual DUO connection for power source, and then it will pop up under the resistance. Then we can go back and select the trainer direct as the power source and trainer direct as the cadence. Okay, so we have direct connection via Bluetooth to the T500 trainer. We have the Wahoo Kicker DUO, which is emulated via QZ, acting as the intermediary, which is then connected to the trainer. Cadence directly to the trainer, Zwift Play controllers left, right, and Zwift Click, and my ticker heart rate strap. Okay, we'll also go back in and ensure the hardware is at maximum trainer difficulty. Virtual shifting is turned on. I've got sequential gear shifting with mixed terrain 1/24. Okay, back, we're in game. Pairing is set. Virtual shifting is working. Okay, we'll put the bike in. Well, actually, the physical gear it was in was just fine. And we'll ride up this climb as easy as possible. Go. All right, it feels like a 14% actually, and I attack that, and there's no slip. Again, you can see that in the power profile. It's not slipping out and dropping down. Oof. 4 short, hard accelerations at once. It taxes the legs. There we have it. Virtual shifting as a workaround for one of the physical limitations of this trainer design. Okay, let's try and use virtual shifting to attack this climb and see how it goes. Let's attack this climb. Switching down through the gears. Oh, yeah. And no slip. No slip at all. So that is Quite an interesting way to solve the problem of virtual tyre slip on this design of trainer. Now for a quick look at the more general use of virtual shifting on Zwift with my virtual gear step test, where the gradient is set to 0, so trainer difficulty set to 0, and every 20 seconds I'm changing up one gear and trying to maintain around 90 to 95 RPM. The easier gears don't have much influence whatsoever, but as we hit gear 9, things start to ramp up with the resistance at each gear change. Now with this configuration, you're not getting that instant jolt like you do with the Neos, with their virtual shifting, but after a second or two, that resistance change does take place and you can feel it through the pedals. Okay, gear 17 now, still stepping up, and it's about now that my legs give up and I'm back down to gear 1. So the changes aren't exactly lightning fast, but they're not too bad. Further into this route badge, onto a steeper section, I'm down to gear 1, 12%, 13% virtual gradient, 14%, I'm up out of the saddle, and I'm unable to spin the resistance out. So I just slight acceleration there, and that's nice and smooth. Out of the saddle, I'm down to 51 RPM, so there's a lot of torque going through the pedals, through the cranks, into the flywheel, but because I'm using that physical gear ratio that allows for a higher flywheel speeds, put the trainer in a decent zone where it can kick back with enough torque that it doesn't slip out. Onto a steeper grade test, which is the grade, and the lower gears having much more of an impact every 20-second change. So gears 1, 2, 3, and 4 here stepping up. I'll just shift over to the left so you can see those changes. Gear 5 again stepping up within a second or two. And again, after all this testing, my legs are about cooked. And there's me grabbing for the safety of the U-turn on the grade. Okay, over to the Bloomfields in France. That is up and down, up and down. Definitely a roller coaster going from +4, -4 in quick succession. And the virtual shifting through here wasn't too bad. I give it about a 3.5 out of 5, I think. Definitely wasn't as quick as some virtual shifting setups, but it wasn't too bad. I wasn't frustrated trying to chase gears and wait for the resistance to change. I did need to read ahead a little bit, though, of what was coming up. Now, if you're going for a sprint, you do have to grab a few gears right here before you launch that sprint, or you will spin out. That slight delay is definitely there, but it's just something you learn with this configuration. Again, it's unofficial, it's unsupported. This shouldn't work, but it does. Oh, and bike upgrade time. Well, there's a bonus for this ride too. Okay, emulating virtual shifting using QZ in Zwift is one of the easiest configurations to use QZ for. Some people might already be familiar with the QZ app. It is a Swiss Army knife of configuration. It can do a lot of things, but today I'm keeping it simple. At a basic level, what I'm using here is QZ as the intermediary connection or translator between the Smart Trainer and Zwift to emulate virtual shifting. Yes, emulating virtual shifting is probably the safest way for me to describe this setup. Do note, this does not modify your trainer or your trainer's firmware. It does not require any changes to your Zwift account or your setup other than one pairing setting. Again, use this at your own risk. Why I'm showing this is because it's another solution to that resistance slip issue with these style of trainers, and it also opens up support for Zwift Ride frame on this trainer too. Oh, unofficially, of course. With QZ having such a deep level of customization, I won't dive deep into all of those settings. If you'd like a better overview for this and for other trainers, let me know in the comments below. I've been in contact with the developer, Roberto, who has been extremely helpful when answering questions, so I've no doubt with more input from users using different hardware that QZ will become even better over time. So is QZ as good as using the officially supported Zwift virtual shifting setup? No, it's not. It's close, and depending on the smart trainer you're using, it's very close to the same experience. Ideally, I'd like to see virtual shifting supported natively on the T500, where you'll get all the benefits without the need for using middleware. Anyhow, let's jump back out of that rabbit hole to wrap things up for today. So in summary, the build and construction of the T500 is good. Coming pre-built is always handy. It's quiet, and the power numbers look great on the unit that I had here in the Llama Lab. Feature-wise, it is sufficient, but maybe falling a little behind as the competition starts to include things like Wi-Fi, race mode, and virtual shifting as standard across the board for their trainers. And that topic that I didn't bury or pretend did not exist, virtual tyre slip with this style of trainer. Now, just when companies thought they were on top of it, there was a shift in road bikes to smaller climbing gears. A 34 up the front, a 34 cassette up the back is not uncommon. Climbing gear ratios like that really push these trainers to the limit, and sometimes over it. There's no getting around that, well, other than using the 3 ways I've demonstrated in this video. including that unofficial support for Zwift virtual shifting. Oh, by the way, if you use QZ, let me know in the comments below if you use it and what trainer you use it with. All right, with that, thanks for watching. As always, likes, subscribes, do all the YouTube things. It's much appreciated.